We've just passed the 6-month milestone for Battlefield 2042 and are expecting the long overdue arrival of Season 1 just around the corner. Felt like a good time to take stock of where we're at and where we might be going. Passions around this game run very high amongst the Battlefield community, so before we get started, full disclosure, I've been playing the game regularly and consistently since launch, and I've found plenty of things to both like and dislike about the game. I've played every game since Battlefield Bad Company 2, and I consider myself one of those passionate Battlefielders. Battlefield 2042 is easily one of the most polarizing games ever released, where bizarrely both the people who like it and the people who hate it both agree that it's an unfinished mess, but still hate each other more for playing it or not playing it. Depending on where you stand, the game is either attempting to innovate and push the boundaries of modern technology and game design, or it's the final nail in the coffin of an already dying franchise. The real answer, I suspect, lies somewhere in between, because if 2042 isn't set right, then the Undertaker may well be reaching for the hammer. All the issues with the game are well documented elsewhere, so I wanted to focus on some key areas that I feel for me personally will potentially be crucial for the future of the franchise. At the same time, I also wanted to cover some of the things I feel the game has done well. I actually think the biggest letdown for me has actually been a symptom of the game, rather than the game's failings themselves. Ever since the obviously premature launch, the Battlefield community has been absolutely decimated, and that for me is the one true tragedy of the past 6 months. Everybody starts their Battlefield journey with a different title, and all have their own very personal ideas about what constitutes the core Battlefield experience, and they are all equally right and equally wrong, and anyone who doesn't agree with them is also equally wrong. In my personal opinion, the common thread in the Battlefield franchise is objective-focused game modes which demanded good teamwork and squad play, which in turn was fertile ground for new friendships and camaraderie, which is what ultimately gave Battlefield its unique flavour. True sense of community. The military theme, the sprawling maps, the satisfying gunplay, the fearsome vehicles, the gritty chaos, the sumptuous visuals and immersive audio, all of that was a given. Each Battlefield has been an iteration on the one before, each different in their own way. Ask 10 Battlefielders which is their favourite Battlefield, and I guarantee you won't get a uniform answer. But that sense of a collective community remained largely untarnished, until now that is. It is this sense of community which the 2042 marketing campaign whipped so skillfully into a frenzy pre-launch, and which the premature release has so ruthlessly demolished in the meantime. I'm not talking about this from a sentimental perspective, even though the sentiment is real, but I'm talking about actual characteristics of 2042 which have impacted the players in the game negatively. People have lamented each of these missing features, whilst maybe not realising the overall impact. The platoon system introduced with Battlefield 3 was intended for players to better coordinate and stay in contact with each other. Squad Join was introduced in Battlefield 4 and helped foster that sense of tight-knit gameplay. The 2042 party system is a flawed and faulty shadow. Previous matchmaking systems allowed squads and large teams to rotate to the next round relatively unchanged. A working server browser meant that it was easy to have more than 5 friends join the same game, and then the same team, and then the same squad. And if no one else was on, then the voice over IP game chat meant it was still easy to communicate with your squad, have a decent game, and maybe make some new friends along the way. Put it this way, a group of friends will forgive a lot of bugs and glitches, as long as they can still hang out and at least play together. At the moment, none of these previous systems work or exist in 2042, not even with the introduction of its own voice over IP last month, which requires approximately 10 steps to be enabled at the start of every round, and then hoping that everyone else is taking the same 10 steps, just on the off chance. Many people, including myself, will say things like Battlefield 3 and 4 launched in much worse conditions, which is true. 3 and 4 had more bugs and crashes than the radiator of a 1980s long-haul truck. And honestly, the radiator would have been prettier as a consequence. The counter argument though is simply that Battlefield 2042 should have launched in a much better state because 3 and 4 were so bad. So what then do I actually like about 2042? I like that they're trying to push the boundaries. I like that they've tried creating the biggest ever lobbies and the biggest maps. I like that this is the first time we get to experience crossplay. I like that they introduced AI to help populate servers. I hate that they're currently dependent on AI to help populate servers. I like the specialists. No, not the cheesy dialogue, nor the looks. The classes are all there. There are just so many more ways to play with them and adapt them. People can get so much more creative. I like the movement and versatility, which feels so much sharper and snappier than ever before. When you're not crossing no man's land for several minutes, I like the chaos of 128 player battles. By and large, I like the gunplay. There are still balancing issues, but that's a good thing at this stage. I like the visuals and the maps, but not the flag positioning or the clinical sterility. I like the world building and the lore, but not the execution. I like the fact that they reached for the stars and fell flat on their face. If you think you've ever screwed up, well, look at how badly the big boys can get it wrong. Innovation and change are a crucial part of the future of not only Battlefield, but game development as a whole. And we have to accept that if we want bigger, brighter, better, it might mean a longer, bumpier route. For Apollo 11 to be a success, NASA still had to run the gauntlet with 1 through 10, and then some. The reasons why and how we are here now are enough to fill up several other videos. The devs must obviously shoulder the responsibility of moving things forward, but I don't think they deserve any of the blame. Right now, it must feel a little like your parents are yelling at you to wash the dishes when you're already stood at the sink with the water running and your marigolds on. Remember, it's the publisher who makes the final decision on launching a game, not the studio. Battlefield 3 and 4, for all their many problems, ultimately became two of the franchise's most iconic and successful games. 2042, for all its many flaws, is already vastly improved from 6 months ago. There is a glimmer of potential then that 2042 could redeem itself to some degree, but time and the broader community are against it for now. And although it shouldn't be in this situation for the future of the franchise, it simply must deliver on its promise. It is a game that is all far too easy to deride in its current state. I know, I've literally kept playing it since day one, and there are to this day still a load of things that need to be addressed, fixed or rebalanced. More importantly though, every time I finish up a session lately, pretty much all I'm thinking about is how much I want to get back in to start the next round. So that's got to be worth something, right? Let's hope the Season 1 launch can take another significant step forward. Hopefully we'll see more of you on the battlefield. Until next time, be good to each other.